The views, opinions, and wild ramblings expressed on this podcast are strictly those of our hosts and do not reflect the thoughts, values, or overly serious policies of their employers, sponsors, advertisers, or anyone with a legal team. All scenarios we discuss are based on past experiences, most of which we barely survived, and have nothing to do with any of our current jobs or employers. Basically, don't sue us. We're just here for the laughs, not the lawsuits.
Welcome to the Four Friends Trying to Figure Out HR, the podcast where we blend workplace drama, HR nightmares, and a way too much oversharing into one wildly inappropriate package.
Your hosts, they're a real dream team. First, we have Mama Mel, the HR queen with a knack for keeping it real and breaking the rules when nobody's looking.
Heavy on the no one's looking.
Next, we have Dr. Green, the one with all the fancy-ass degrees and the questionable sense of humor.
E equals MC squared.
Such a nerd. I'm the Big Llama. I come for the big laughs, the bigger opinions, and absolutely zero filter, because I don't even know what that word means. And last but not least, we've got Jake from HR. He's not wearing any khakis, and it's questionable if he's even wearing pants, but he is here to ensure that we're breaking HR guidelines just for fun.
I'm always here to judge.
So buckle up, grab your handbook, maybe a cocktail, and join us as we figure out HR one awkward scenario at a time.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Just Four Friends Trying to Figure Out HR podcast, where today you're going to learn something new. Or maybe not. Just depends on what you're listening to. So today, what we're going to talk about is HR or therapy. Which one is it? Which one matters the most? So I figured we kind of go around the horn like our buddy Kenny would say. He would tell us go around the horn. So let's go to Mama Mel on when she thinks about HR as a therapist, or do you feel like there's a line that you don't need to cross? Like, let's talk about it.
So it's kind of hard. Like it's not hard to see how HR can feel like therapy, right? Like think about what we do on a daily basis, right? We're talking to employees, we're taking in their concerns. Sometimes we bring our entire selves to work. Our personal struggles, our family stresses, our burnout, our anxieties, like that just doesn't magically switch off when you walk in, right? We hear this over and over again, right? You leave your problems at the door. When you walk in, you're a new person, you're an employee. Well, that doesn't happen. Not for us. We are often the first point of contact for any really interpersonal concerns or issues. And so not only I know we've talked about this in previous podcasts, not only do we absorb all of that, but it's not easy to miss how we could be just seen as like a therapy session, right? So HR in a way is therapy, but we are not licensed therapists. So like I said in the intro, do not sue us. I'm doing the best that I can to like help you maneuver through your problems is I'm trying to maneuver through mine.
Yeah, I like your point of that whole check it at the door, right? Like, it's a cliched corporate term that we overuse, but it's absolutely true, especially for us as HR professionals, like for everybody. But again, for us, we're hearing problems. Like 90% of our job is because something's broken. Somebody's had a bad day. There have been some kind of issue, and so we are the problem solvers. But man, when we are bringing our problems in, and then we get inundated the second we walk in, it's overwhelming. It's and I mean, and I think a good HR person can mask that, but after a while, you need somebody too. So I like what you said there because it's hard to just leave it at the door.
I
And
love that.
also, like, HR is so fast evolving. We've moved past a lot of the admin work, right? Which, if you're an administrative professional, happy day to you. But
Yes.
we've moved past that. We're no longer just like payroll, hiring, policy enforcement. Like, we have expanded through that. And as these conversations about emotional well-being and mental health, as they start to gain momentum, there's definitely that new question that's surfacing, are we expecting our HR teams to become therapists? Because we're pretty much that's what we're doing.
You know what? If you think about it, for anyone who's gone to school, think about the classes that most undergrad and even almost all graduate programs, they all have psych courses in them. There's
Yeah.
I I remember when I was looking for the next level and trying to, take myself to Dr. Green's level at a PhD, I was looking at what it would take to go and get a psychology PhD degree. And I already had half my credits were already there. So if you think about HR, they do prepare you in college to be partially a psychologist, just unlicensed.
I like that. It's a good point.
Yeah.
And I think so. My doctorate, if I have not explained what my doctorate is a psychology degree, but my doctorate, I still had to learn about all the other things. But my specialization, I don't have to be licensed in. It is in organizational and industrial psychology. So basically, working with an organization saying, do this, and fix this culture, fix this person, aka get rid of this person, the negative Nancy over there, get rid of her. That's where my degree comes in. So it's still a lot of evaluating, but it's on a business level. And so in my day to day, we should, as HR, you get that. I like the way you said that, Jake, because we get that sense of we are trying to fix the problem, but at the same time, they know they can come to you with a question or with a problem, and that I won't say all the time, we can mostly fix. And it's may just be pay, but it may just be I need somebody to hear me talk for 5 minutes about how uh, Jake slapped me upside the face, and I just need to talk about it. Like that's a lot of them really need that, and that brings us into what we call the wellness check that we give, and we should be giving those wellness checks, whether you're a psychologist or not, whether you're in HR or even if you're a manager. Wellness checks are very much needed, not just from a benefit standpoint, like healthcare, medical, dental, vision, etc. Not from that, just that standpoint, but it also helps you with engaging with your employees. When you do that wellness check, hey, just checking in, seeing how everything's going. We don't have to be the bad guy. We can actually be something good. And I say that because a lot of people look at us like we are the bad guy. We're the ones that's here to fire people.
Mhm.
So we can change that view also just by going and checking on our employees and saying, hey, how's everything going? Yeah, you make some people just go, I'm fine. And they're not. And then you may get some who are just going to tell you their life story. And, I know we've all met one of those people. Like I see Jake shaking his head like, yeah. But like, I want to know, how do you feel that, do you feel like we have a culture of acceptance when we're checking in on our people?
Well, listen, I'll say this: like I think I'm pretty good at the check-in, and it's by accident. It's just the one follow-up question I have at the end when I talk to somebody is like, "How you doing today? How's everything going? Everything good with you?" Like I kind of weave that in there I just want to make sure there's nothing I need to address or talk, or maybe you need some help, right? So I always open the door for that. But I to my own sort of personal hell, um, I think I take on too much. I would say that, like in my old roles, I think I would try to be Mr. Fix It, right? Thinking again, let's just call it what it is. When you're a guy, your instinct is to fix things, not just to listen, but to fix things. So sometimes it would be so bad that I'd hear a couple of problems and they're way out of my scope, not anything that I can address, but I just want to fix it. I want you to feel better leaving my office. And sometimes that would cause me to have long ass conversations, like, an hour long conversation. I'm hearing about their personal life, their spouses, their finances, their health. And I'm like, damn, I've just dug this hole way too deep. But I think there's a balance there where that wellness check is so like appreciated. Just even if they don't have a lot to say, just knowing there's somebody that, and again, we do care, but there's somebody that cares about what's going on for them, because a lot of them don't have. And again, depending on the organization you're in, whether you're in a giant corporate, professional office, small mom and pop, operation, or like I would say for minimum or low wage employees, like those guys don't have anybody. Like they don't have
Yeah.
the monies to go to the therapist, they don't have money to go to the doctor, and they're dealing with a bunch of issues financially, which they're struggling. So like just having someone that they go, hey, you got a minute, and you can just sit there and listen to their problems, right? The great thing is that I've been there where they are, right? I've had no money, I've struggled, I've been close to homeless, right? And
Amen.
I but it's like I feel like that's my opportunity to sort of say, how can I help you, and how, but again, we take on many roles, but to answer your question, yes, I think we can do this, and it's something we should be doing, but just beware of opening up Pandora's box and going a little too deep.
Well, and then for all the people that are listening that are new to HR, I want to make sure I emphasize on something that is so crucial, that whether you intentionally or unintentionally open up Pandora's box, just be a listening ear. Don't
Mm-hmm.
give advice. Because when people, I'll give you an example with a prior company. I had someone come to me, and yeah, she was having performance issues, and I had a conversation with her, and it turned out she was in an abusive relationship, and there was legal, situations going on in her life, and there was, housing situations going on, and she wanted all this advice, and I couldn't tell her what to do. I couldn't tell her what to how to get involved with law enforcement. All I could do is like give her resources that are publicly available to everyone, saying, look, I can't advise you on anything, but I can give you these resources based on what you've shared with me today. But for all those people that are new to HR, you got to remember that you're not their friend, and you have potential liability risk for giving advice and recommendations in people's personal lives, because you are a representative of that company, and depending on what seat you sit in, you govern certain powers that put the company at risk based on what comes out of your mouth, especially being in HR or any leadership or I'm not sure what the word is, but like a situation that you sit in where, whether it's HR, safety, compliance, employee relations, anything that's like an administrative support position, those are considered, even though you don't really supervise people or you may have a small team, you're still considered like in an authoritative position, which can be detrimental based on what you tell an employee. So, just remember, like, we want you to be empathetic. We want you to be those listening ears where it's appropriate. And when you have time, just be cautious of what you respond. And then also how you respond non-verbally, because these people are confiding in you and telling you probably horror stories about their personal life in your face. If you look like you just saw a ghost, they're going to match your energy. You're gonna freak them out more. Like, you got to be that strong-faced person for them, or at least neutral, that gives them that self-confidence that they need to get through that in their personal life.
It's a good point. On the facial part too, especially like again, as I've gotten older, it's gotten harder to mask the real feelings. But
That
yeah, I
Botox
mean,
wore off. You get
it's
that
not that it
Botox again.
wore, not that it
This is
wore
my
off.
happy
Is
face.
I forget like that I'm expressive in that way. Like if I don't like something, I look like I'm about to punch you, and it's not anything. It's just my face, right? Just the way I look. But yeah, I got to remember that too because sometimes you just like, well, it goes two ways. Either you really, really feel for the person and you're cringing a little bit. You're like, oh, or you have had it with this story. Um, Again, we're all human beings. I'm not saying that every story is always sad, and sometimes it's sometimes it's like, like seriously, like this is what you're thinking. You're seriously, we're having this conversation. Um, Case in point, I had a conversation about um with someone who was very upset and wanted to talk, and it turned out that they were very upset and wanted to talk because they felt like they were entitled to eat breakfast.
On the
Just
clock or like
no, just in life in general, I'm entitled to eat breakfast, is what she said. And I said, wait a second. What? What are you talking about? Like, but she was so upset. Again, different people have different things that trigger them and make them emotional, but we are still the same sounding board. So whether it's a really serious family issue or someone who is relatively young in the workforce and has an issue with breakfast, you have to kind of treat it the same way. You can't dismiss it, I would say. And that's what I have a hard time with sometimes. But yeah, she came in saying that she was very upset. She feels very stressed out, that she's waking up later and later and she does not have an opportunity to eat breakfast. And she feels her body needs this breakfast to function. And what do you say to that? You just say, "Oh, yeah, we all need
Get up
breakfast."
early.
No,
Get
I
up
would
you
early.
know,
say this is not high school. I'm so sorry. There's no free breakfast here.
no, Dr. Green, what's my saying? What's my saying?
Oh no, you have a lot of sayings. Usually it's tough
Exactly.
love or suck it
No,
up, buttercup.
no, I love that for you.
I love that for you.
I
That's
love that
right.
for you.
Or you usually say, this is filled with the most positive intent. I love
Yeah.
that for you.
Or I'll take it really southern and I'll tell the employee, hold out both hands. I want you to want in this hand and crap in
Crap
this one
in
and see
the
which one
other.
fills up faster. Which one fills up faster? Because that's what you need. No, I would
Or
never
my
say that.
personal favorite,
I'd never
my
say that.
grandmother used to say, it's kind of like the bless your heart kind of
Oh, don't hit
saying.
me with that. Bless your heart.
Oh, it annoys me too. But my nana used to say this. She'd go, Lord love a duck, and it would just be like kind of the other version of bless your heart. Like, are
Mm.
you really that stupid?
Is
That kind of
Nana's name Becky?
no. Actually, her name was Nelda.
Oh,
But I was
okay.
going to ask you if Becky was the one having the problem with the breakfast here. She's
If anyone
entitled.
was having a problem with breakfast, it would be Becky. You know her.
I don't think it was Becky. I feel like her friend Misty was visiting you that day.
All I'll say is
Oh.
this person was very young. Very young in the
Well,
workforce.
I think that's a really good area to explore
Yeah.
because I think we're all kind of thinking like that every generation comes with different things that
Baggage.
trigger them.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know about you guys, but well, hold before I go to that, I wanted to say, Lama, that what you just said resonates so heavy within me because an area of opportunity for me has always been controlling this. It's a very hard to do, especially when I'm being hit with a story like yours, and I'm just like, what part? Where are we? Where's the disconnect here? You know what the fix is. You know how to get it fixed, but you don't want to. And the world owes you nothing.
Preach it. Preach it again.
But we can't say that, right? Because we have to be very sensitive, so we can't say that. But I do feel that it's a generational thing. And as we start to encounter and work with a lot more of the younger generation, their wants, needs, triggers are very different than a lot of experiences that I've had working with people my age or a little older. So it does get difficult to HR them because you're not looked at HR, you are a therapist. And so as HR folks, then we start to think like, okay, where should we draw the line? Like at what point do we say, I am not here to provide you clinical advice. Like I am not a licensed therapist. I can absolutely listen to you. I can acknowledge what you're struggling with. I can offer you resources like, your EAPs, your flexible work policies, your local resources. We can definitely encourage open communication, even if that's going to take us an hour to get through. Um, but where do we say, like, hey, this is what I should not be expected to do? I should not be expected to provide clinical therapy. Manage your personal crisis is beyond our scope or beyond our training because we don't, let's be realistic, we don't get training like that. At least I don't, right? There may be organizations that are amazing out there and offer those kinds of trainings, but I have yet to encounter, right? And we also shouldn't take on that like emotional labor of always being that confidant to people. Because then we get like, again, then we're stuck with all that baggage. And then who do we go to?
Psychologist.
But
Right.
that is
I call my therapist.
that's
There
where
you go.
us knowing where our resources come into play. And I love that you said
Yes.
that, Mama Mel, because this is where a lot of people that are within their first, 5 years of HR, this is where I really see that struggle. And this is where I saw myself struggle in the entrance of getting into that career path. Because if you always sit there and have an open ear every single time, your day will be filled with constant knocks on the door. And you have to be able to tell that employee, hey, look, I'm really empathetic to your situation, but unfortunately, I have to bring this to a stop because this isn't what I'm here for. But let me give you a resource. Let me give you our EAP number. Let me refer you to some resources where they specialize in this, and this is where I want to reroute you to for those personal problems. And then you kind of follow it back up with positive verbiage saying, if you have anything that's work related or anything that ties into like schedule concerns or like management concerns, I'm definitely here for you for that. But anything in your personal life, I want to give you these resources. You got to redirect them. And if you're the kind of manager that you've just got to be involved in it, then do your due diligence and give them the life skills to learn critical thinking. Because if someone comes to you and says, hey, I really think breakfast is important, but I can't get up early enough in the morning, then teach them critical thinking skills the same way you would a leader, which is, okay, well, I hear that problem. Give me 3 solutions to that problem.
Yeah.
Have them think of those solutions, because the more you challenge employees back on coming up with their own solution to their own problems, then it starts to become an internal, like subconscious reaction that they start doing after a while to where they quit coming to you for the answer. Because at the end of the day, you're not giving them the answer. You're just simply saying, I hear you. What do you think the solution is? What are your 3 responses? And then you can give your feedback where it's appropriate on, what, you absolutely can't come up with a solution. Let me give you a little bit of a hint. We'll phone a friend. What do you think about having granola bars ready to grab on the go so when you get in the car, you can eat on the way? Because that's not really getting into like stuff we have to worry about repercussions. Like I'm telling you a food group to get. If you're allergic to nuts, I'm sorry, you shouldn't eat the granola bar.
Okay. All right. I get you. Which that's true. Even in therapy, that's exactly what a therapist does. You can cut all the other stuff out, and I like the way you said that. Like, If you're allergic to nuts, don't eat it. Like that's a common sense thing. That's like a duh moment. But for the one who says, I'm hungry because I haven't eaten breakfast, as simple as that is, as just go get a dang orange from the break room or something like that. But it's as simple as just you're guiding them to the answer without giving it to them so that they feel like a sense of accomplishment came from finding their own solution. So outside of that, I want to bring us into some more exciting things. And if you will scroll down, my wonderful people, scroll down and see the wonderful majesty that I put in here. Things that could be a fun therapy inspired things that HR can do. And I'll read the first one and we can go around and you can pick which one you like. I love the first one because I swear we had this at a payroll organization. A mandatory cry room. It's equipped with tissues, stress balls, and a playlist titled Corporate Tears, Volume 3. I mean, do you really think that could be beneficial? Minus the goofy Corporate Tears Volume 3. Maybe put some Celine Dion in the background, Titanic, My Heart Will Go On. I mean,
I was going
what
to
do y'all think?
suggest Sade, By Your Side. Ooh, that song gets me every time.
I was say Sarah McLachlan.
Oh, not in the arms of
Not
an
the
angel.
dogs. Not the dogs.
Shivering dogs in the snow.
I want to do an HR video with Sarah McLachlan and have all these employees in the background locked in
Right.
cages. Have you ever struggled with an employee? Have you ever
In the
had someone?
arms of an angel.
For 30 cents a day, you can save an HR man.
No, for 30 cents a day, you can support an HR manager getting their psychology degree.
Oh my Lord. No, I'm not a fan of cry rooms because there's a shame in going to this one place to go cry. Like people know what you're gonna go do. You know, I don't know. It's like the walk of shame the next day. It's kind of the same thing with the cry room, right? Like you're coming out of the cry room, everyone knows what you did in the cry room, right? It's like so I don't know. I say cry wherever you want to cry. I mean, that's actually when people cry in my office. I get emotional. I'm a softie. Okay. Okay. For those of you who have been listening to, yeah, I may promote a rough and tough exterior with road punches and everything, but I am the biggest softie. If you cry in my office, I'm tearing up or welling up. It depends on the situation, right? But the one thing I always say is you're allowed to cry. You have your moment. Have your moment. Let it out. I said this is a good place to do it, and go for it. And I think that just gives them the acceptance because a lot of times it feels embarrassing and shameful. But I like the concept of have a cry room, right? But I think just let them cry and then tell them it's okay. Like don't stop them. Did we talk about my water trick with crying? Did we ever brought this up in the podcast?
No, we have not.
Okay.
Please enlighten us with your
Okay.
fake tears of love.
So if ever you have somebody who is either crying uncontrollably or crying, give them something to drink. Give them some water. You cannot cry and drink water at the same time. Guaranteed. Try it on
They'll
your
spit
child.
it out. They'll spit it out.
No, they have to breathe. When you're crying, you're kind of you can't control the breathing. When you go to take the sip of the water, the crying stops. So trust me, if you have a child and they're hyperventilating, they're crying, give them some water. I guarantee you they'll stop crying for the moment, right? For the moment. But with an adult, it's a little bit different. They'll drink the water and then it almost like distracts them. But trust me when I tell you, HR, anyone listening, HR people, this is valuable advice. You're doing an investigation, you have an hysterical person, whatever, give them some water. And I guarantee you they're going to stop crying immediately. That's a guarantee from me.
Just going to try it on myself the next time that I cry in my own office.
No, seriously. And the tell for me, like my family knows my trick. So the tell for me is like when there's an emotional scene on TV or commercial, because I'm in my old age, I've gotten very soft. I will start drinking like profuse, like I will grab something and be like guzzling the thing because I'm trying to stop the emotion of tears coming.
Big Llama got drunk in 30 minutes. Jeez.
He's drinking a whole lot. Oh no, but
It's just really
yeah,
thirsty. That's a good.
So,
That's a good nugget there. Oh,
it
thank you.
is great
absolutely.
nugget. Try
Mama
it.
Mel, you haven't really spoken, and it's kind of killing me here on the inside.
What do you mean? I
I
owned
want to hear
the
you
entire
tell me,
first part.
but you're so full of wisdom and different opinions and thoughts, and so I love them. So I want you to tell me which one of these is like your favorite out of these.
Oh gosh. Listen, I actually was really hung up on the emotional support office plant. Although when I thought of that, it immediately segued into that Mylar balloon that we talked about.
Yes, the balloon.
The emotional balloon that was murdered.
Emotional
Yeah.
support balloon.
The one that was there and then it was dead.
So I'll share a funny story. My partner works at a very very rough and tough place, very primarily male driven. But they have a fish. They have a fish that everybody in that place knows. They feed it. They buy it little like aquarium accessories. I don't know what to call whatever you put in there.
Yeah.
And that fish, if it dies, they just go buy a new one. But they're very invested in that fish. And so when I saw the emotional plant, I was like, that kind of brings people together. That's something to bond over. Also, I thought about my fifth grade teacher, shout out Mr. Martinez. He used to have snakes in class. Um,
Mm-mm.
like they terrified me, but it was our snake. It was our pet. It was our class snake. And we were invested in it, and so it gave us some type of bonding with each other. If you had a problem with somebody in the class, I remember he would purposely assign you both to feed the snake for the week or whatever we would do. um but it brought you and your like frenemy together. And I was real hung up on the emotional plant. I don't think that's a horrible idea as long as nobody is like screaming at it or killing it. Why not?
Sabotage.
Let's all just focus around Peter the plant and we're good.
Why
Why
it
not
gotta start with
Misty
a
the
D?
plant?
Why not
can we name-
Sparkle Misty the plant? There you go. I like that. I like that.
Look, all I can think of is if the fish dies, we riot. Like that's all I keep thinking of. Like, right, something happens to this fish, we riot. Someone's going down.
That's what I'm saying.
When you
And
said
then-
that, I was like, that's perfect.
I mean, could you imagine frenemies taking care of a fish? It dies, and now they're at war.
You
Now
killed
it's
the
the
fish.
blame game. You killed him. No, you killed him. Poor little shark bait. Ooh, ha, ha.
One kills the fish and puts it in the other one's bag, so he gets blamed for it.
Oh, I love you, Mel.
That's toxic. Toxic.
Did only Llama get the Nemo reference
I
there?
just
I got
said I love that. That was funny.
Shark bait. Ooh, ha.
Ooh ha ha. I love that
Fish
movie.
are friends, not food.
Not food. I never knew my father.
People are like, "What is going on this podcast?"
Ooh, we're just quoting Nemo.
As you can tell, we have kids.
Yes.
Or we are
And somebody's
kids.
about to have one. But
Or we are kids, yeah.
or we
Yes.
are kids, or their husbands are kids. But anyways, so I love that. Thank you for your plant/fish story. we'll make sure that we send you a plant
Thanks.
for your gift of delivery.
Oh, thank you.
Jay's going to get you a gift, right? A delivery gift or whatever. Have you already spoken to them about it?
I've been looking at some push gifts, and I'm like, these
That's
are
it.
fancy.
Push gifts. Push gifts. What you thinking? I know I'm
Get
going off
to
topic,
it.
but I gotta know.
I don't know because the other day I saw outrageous TikTok. This girl got a G-Wagon for a push gift, and I just looked at Jay like, what you trying to do? Well,
You can
what
get
do
you a
you want
red
to show up
wagon.
with?
A red wagon.
Little what's that? The flyer, the little red flyer,
Radio flyer. Yeah.
wagon flyer.
Yeah.
I just
I'll
kinda
bring you a
looked at it like,
picture. I'll get a picture of a G-Wagon. Get you a little miniature G-Wagon.
Just forget the Hot Wheels. Here's your G-Wagon, honey. I love you. Even the
you a
Hot Wheels
G-Wagon.
G-Wagon was $20.
But we taking the Corolla home though.
Exactly. That's what I say. That's why I can get you a C-Wagon. I get a Corolla, a Camry. I got you on that one. Not the G though.
Thank you.
A Sea-Wagon. I like that. Oh, that's good. That's good. Cool. Well, I just wanted to ask because it was like on my head at that moment, and I was like, I gotta know. what he's
I
getting.
have to know what your thoughts are on 3. A group scream into the void session. Scheduled every Thursday at 3. Attendance is optional. Participation is encouraged.
Individually?
It says
Yes.
group.
But
scream. Group
I
session.
don't know. I would feel like Jake from HR would love that for me when I was screaming.
No, because
And
that's
would
going
you
to turn
scare me
into
like,
like
why
15.
scream at me?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's going to turn into an HR complaint. They were yelling into the void, but I know they're talking about me.
They're yelling about me.
Oh, yelling in another language, but I know it was about me.
Exactly. It said llama, and I'm like, oh, I know they're talking about me.
So like screaming your words out loud into the void. I think it honestly, as a good joke, I think that would be a good therapeutic session. Truly, when you exert all of this energy and feeling and just anger towards screaming, it brings you back down to a calm level. That's why you'll see where a lot of books talk about how getting that anger out, whether it's through punching, gym, screaming is a quick, easy way of getting all that out, like almost instantaneously. And it brings you back to a level head. Now, for Jake, may not be true, but for most of us, it brings us to a level head.
No, it's going to open up Pandora's box because when I open up that window, the whole house is coming out.
I saw that underwear.
I'm just saying, if I'm throwing out the laundry, I'm just going to throw everything out. We'll start new. We're burning the house down.
I'm glad you got the reference.
That's what happens when you have a spider. I burn the house down.
Well, the dogs can go outside. Like, if I ever commit arson, they'll know it's arson because the dogs won't be inside.
Right.
So, moving on with this, Jake from HR, what do you find to be one of your favorites in this list?
I added my own at the bottom.
Oh, of course you would.
I did because I have 2. I have 2 that I think
Of
work
course.
wonders for the majority of the population, both older and younger, especially Gen Zs. Is one, the quiet room.
We love you.
The quiet room gives people a place to go and hear themselves think and collect their thoughts. I'm telling you, it works, especially with people under 20. Okay. And then fidget toys.
It works until the quiet room is being used for other things.
Well, don't go in there and smoke pot. It's not the pot room, it's the quiet room. Okay. But no, I get it. In theory, there are people that abuse the quiet room, but in one of my previous companies I worked for, while we did have a few issues here and there with people that would go in there and get on their cell phone or people that go in there and want to have conversations. Those were one-offs that didn't happen very often. Overall, it was very efficient. It allowed people to go in there and take a quick nap or just think to themselves. And then the other one were fidget toys, because it's just there's so much on people's minds. They need something to like focus on, or to be able to not concentrate what's in their head and focus on what's in their hand. That fidget toys do very, very well, whether they're on break, whether they're in the quiet room, or even if they're actively working, as long as it's in an environment that is acceptable where they can do that safely and without it interrupting the business. But those are the two that I found to be the most efficient on a larger scale. While it's not going to meet everyone's satisfaction, it meets the majority.
They can't get no satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
I'm just saying Becky likes it.
But just like Becky
likes everything.
I'm going to remind of what Big Llama just told us. Just give Becky some water. Don't need no fidget toy. Give Becky some water.
But she wasn't crying. She's not crying. She was upset because she had too much on her brain.
I love that for her.
Yeah.
You know what we put into play for us, the four of us? Trauma bonding Tuesdays, although they're not on Tuesdays.
They were every day.
There's a more professional term for that, but trauma bonding, I like that term better.
Trauma bonding. You share your worst meeting experiences. The first one to make someone cry wins a coffee.
There you go.
Oh.
You know what
better to understand the crazy than the three of you guys.
And you know what makes it even better is when your boss knows that you have Trauma Tuesday calls with three friends that don't work for your company. I shared that. Like I shared that with my boss, and she's down. She's for it, and I love that for myself, because
we love a supportive boss. Shout
I
out
do.
him.
For them to know that HR has its own HR team to support them when they're struggling.
Yes. And I don't know about y'all, but I know I have called every one of you. I have called and just sat there and worked
every day
because just some crap was happening, and I just needed to get away from everybody else, go to my people. And it's been, especially in the past organization, I'd call Jake from HR and be like, I just need you to be here. And I would just work and go along. And then probably about like 30, 45 minutes later, I go, oh, you're still here. Oh, hey, thanks, man. And I would get off. That was my trauma bonding, but it was also away for several things. But one, Jake knew what I was doing and what I was going through and how I needed to get away. And I would pop a question in here and there, and he would make fun of me for something I just said or did out loud, but that bond that we all had, that was one of the things that I did to all of y'all. And I couldn't help it, but it was my way of, I need to focus, chill out, get all this stuff out of my head and make sure nobody gets into my calendar. Because I am at this point, it's trauma bonding time. Okay,
your Mark is busy on a call.
Well, but the majority of the time, unless you work for an organization that allows for 10 people to be in an HR office, we're by ourselves. We're the Lone Ranger. We're a one-man wolf pack, and just having someone on the other line sometimes is just all you need. You don't have to say anything. I just need to feel like there's another person here that's with me. And sometimes that's all the emotional support that you need to, maybe that was your version of a fidget toy. That's what took your mind off of what you were actually needing to work through, or it helped you work through, whatever was on your mind. So I don't think that's a negative thing. And I will block off my calendar any time of the day to have a session like that, peer to peer, because we don't get to do that often. And it's very much needed.
Absolutely. I thank you for doing that because it does. I'm a little emotional about it, but I do think that we all need some time just to, even if it's just somebody just sitting there, don't have to do, don't say nothing, don't have to listen. You just do whatever you're doing. And it
Yep.
gives me this sense of like, okay,
Well, that's part of cultivating a culture of acceptance. You're creating a network of peer support. So think of
You
it
know,
as like CPR for emotional well-being in the workplace.
when you
oh,
think
yeah.
about it, that would be great to add to your self-evaluations, whether it's quarterly or annually, because a lot of times leadership wants to know what you're doing, especially in HR, to better yourself, to advance yourself. And if you talk about how you have a weekly call with, a team outside the company that works in HR to develop yourself on how to solve complex problems better, or to figure out how to address situations that may be like a one-off or a first for you, that shows it's equivalent to like kind of like going back to school and getting a degree or taking a certified course. You're developing yourself using external resources appropriately, because that, and I know we've all done it. We at one point or another, we've all called each other and say, "Hey, look, I got a situation. What are your thoughts on this? How would you address this?"
Mhm.
And and like even outside of y'all, I have another resource that y'all know who she is. She's been my mentor both before and during organizations that we've worked together, and to this
We
day, I
miss you,
still,
by the way.
yeah, I
Miss you,
know.
mentor.
Look, there's nothing bad about it. I'll call her out. Miss Irma. Miss Irma has been a huge mentor of
Whoop, whoop.
mine into my human resources career. And to this day, I still call her and I'll be like, hey, I have a situation where like I know what I would do, but I feel better about myself to have someone that's been in HR about 10 years longer than I have. And just like, I want to know what route you would take. And I want to see if we're aligned. And if we're not, 99% of the time, it's because she has a better solution or she's experienced before and knows what the outcomes normally are. So having those mentors, it's not only developing yourself, but it's also helping the company. So don't forget, when you do stuff like that, don't be afraid to put things like that on your self evaluation of how you're bettering yourself. That's not just going back to college or getting your your SHRM certification or getting a certification in HR. Those things still matter and actually will benefit you on your evaluation with 99.8% of leadership.
I like that.
99.8.
You got to leave room for the toxic bosses.
Mhm.
Though, no,
You know,
you all know there's that boss that's like, they'll look at you and they're like, I don't know if they're envious or jealous or they just hate you, but they look at that like, oh, they're taking our business outside the company. It's like, we're not discussing things where we have a fiduciary obligation to keep it confidential. Obviously, we don't share every specific detail of things that we can't share outside of a company, but we can talk very high level about things that we need guidance on. It's that mentorship peer to peer. And then of course, if we're not allowed to take it out of house, we don't take it out of house.
right.
Right.
Right. It's just more like the scenario, like, hey, I've got this issue attendance, and it's this and this
Yeah.
this. How would you, we're thinking about doing this. How would you handle it? It's more just like a sounding board and it's I don't see it being much different than if you were to research it, like case studies out in the if you do a Google search for a case study and you go, oh, that 6 companies have done it this way. It's no
Mhm.
different to ask, a peer or even like those LinkedIn chats, forums, right, where they post a question and a lot of people just kind of answer their issue, or their response. It's no different. So I would say, listening to this podcast gets you some SHRM points, right? The CEMs, no, we give those away.
CMEs.
CMEs, whatever they are.
We could be the new Ask Jan.
We just,
Oh,
for
gosh.
sure, for
I
sure.
love Ask Jan. She's amazing. They need to
Jan
come
is
up with
all
an
right.
Ask Becky. They need to
What
ask
about Ask
Becky.
Jeeves, though?
Oh God,
Oh
that's
God. I know, right?
Shut
Get
up.
off.
Becky's gonna
Ask
get us
So
in trouble.
Ask
I
AOL
want
chat.
no, don't ask AOL anything. Welcome. Um, I
Earthling.
wanted to share mine because mine is a combination of things. Okay. One is I love on this list passive aggressive affirmation posters. I love that.
Oh, yes.
But I mix that with the memes. So the one area, the way that I would get through the day is a passive aggressive meme. So um you all know I'm the meme king. If you said something, I can come up with a meme real quick for it. But it was
Throat
part of
punch.
it was part of coping with issues, right? It was more like, how do I just express in a more comedic way I'm in some pain? Like that's all. It was like therapy for me to get it out that way. But
How do you think the podcast got started?
exactly.
It's all of our pain.
It's all debriefing, right?
But
No,
as your peer, I appreciated that all the time.
Yes.
Appreciated that comedic relief, appreciated knowing, because you in our peer group, right? I'm not saying our peer group because we know each other a lot better. But think of your peer groups in the organizations that you work for. You have a lot of different personalities. And sometimes when you don't get to work with these people for long periods of time, or you haven't built that rapport with them, you don't know them so well, you don't know if you can pull something like that. If they're going to snip it and send it to your boss, if they're going to reply back with a funnier meme, if they're going to get it, if they're not going to understand your sense of humor, and then you're screwed and have to fear that they're going to send it to your boss. So you don't have that rapport with everybody. When that person comes along the road, right, and you're able to share that comedic relief with them, for me, that's like all the venting that I need. I know I have that person that I can totally call. They're going to come up with the funniest thing on the spot. It's going to help me get over my problem, but they can still help me work through the challenge. So for me, that I love a good meme. I love a good joke. Listen, sometimes we spend 10, 12, 13 hours at work. I'm not trying to be here and hate my day. Like, I want to have a good time, laugh, and then go home. So if you're the comedic relief in your group, know that you are so appreciated.
Thanks.
for sure.
except to the except to certain executive levels. They don't appreciate it.
No,
They don't
no,
understand it. They don't understand it.
That's
Actually-
because they're friends with Becky. That's why.
exactly.
No, they're friends with
Mm.
Misty.
It-
So
can I tell you? Can I tell you that I tested my comedic chops with the top level where I'm working, and
Mhm.
You did
And
not.
I felt horrific after I said it. But so my now boss, and he knows this story. We were looking at the screen, and he was squinting, and he goes, "I can't see."
Oh,
And we're in
no.
front of the top person, and I go, we do have a vision plan. I can give you some information on that if you need it. The whole room, right, like started laughing, and even the top dog. But I'm like, I just undercut my boss in front of his boss. So like immediately follow the meeting. I'm in the stairwell walking down. I'm like, I am so sorry. Like I did not. If I offended you, like let me know. He's like, nah, that's how we do it. I go, okay, thank you. I was
That's
like,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was terrified. I was like, oh my god, I'm getting fired, and I'm on probation, guys. I'm like, no.
I know a company that would turn that into an HR complaint because you just made in front of someone's disability.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Oh.
know.
They're gonna say what company that is, but you know the company.
Yeah, I mean, it's I literally was like nervous. I was like, oh god, like it was a great moment. I had my moment. Everyone laughed. I was like, all right, I'm back, and I was like, shit, what did I do?
I think
Oh man,
that, and that brought a good point to a time that, I've been in HR long enough. And I was working at a medical facility. and there were bonuses that were being given out, but nobody knew about it. And my boss said, hey, go in your next meeting, go and tell the people about their $50 bonus. Granted, $50 can be a lot to somebody who makes $8 an hour. And that's real. That's real life. So the part that I connected with you over there, Big Llama, was I went to the meeting. I said it. My boss he's like my dotted line boss, stared at me like with the death stare of how dare you take away my thunder of telling everybody they're getting a $50 bonus. And so I didn't think about it. We left the meeting and I'm walking side by side with him. I'm like, hey, I hope I didn't step over the line or anything like that. I was told to do it by my boss. And his answer was, you sure did step over the line. And I'm like, okay, I was just being courteous, apologizing. I wasn't being serious. So, you got the best answer, which is that's how we do it here. I got the, yeah, you did. And the, death stare for, the longest time. So, it made me think about it brought back some trauma, my friend.
Trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jake from HR. I know you have a thought or two. Tell us.
Actually, I have a thought on how to make that a better announcement. I mean, because you got to think about it. Are you
hating on the way I told it? Because we were in a chapel. Okay, there's
no. No, I was talking about realistically, everyone knows HR does a lot of the communication guides or talking points for announcements. And when you're talking about the bonuses, I don't think I've ever worked for a company where that hasn't happened, where we've given out a $50 or $100 bonus, which to an employee that knows that you're making millions or billions of dollars, they look at that like, oh, that's nothing. You can afford to give me more. It's like, how do you make this sound like a win to the employees? Because yes, every dollar does matter. To me, the way I've always approached it is you want to look at it from a high level. Hey, we got some great news. The company's investing $100,000 in their employees. And what that is each employee is going to get a $50 gift card or a $100 bonus at the end of the quarter. You want to kind of show them what the burden is onto the company it's not a lot of money to you as an individual, but it's $100,000 or $1 million to this business. And that's a lot of money to just give away. And it's not a tax write-off to them. It's an investment. So You do have to, as HR, and I say this because it's one of the things that we get to do on this podcast is give out little tidbits of how to help other HR individuals. And that's one of the ways we joke about the bonus things because sometimes they are funny. And we even have those same thoughts like, oh, that's a pathetic bonus. But you got to look at it from a high level and figure out how to spin it and make it a win for the employees. But that boss was so in the wrong because, obviously if it was that great and he didn't want his thunder rained on, then he should have went out there and did his own sunshine.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. And I agree. Thinking about it, even with raises, 5% can cost $1 million. And even though one person's getting 11 cents, it could be a lot of money to the organization.
Wait, let me do the math real quick. 11 cents times, let's just say 10,000 employees. It's $1,100 an hour. So times that by 40 hours, that's 44,000. No, I'm dead serious. If a company with 10,000 employees gave an 11 cents raise to each of their employees, that's $44,000 a week times
that's
52
a whole other
weeks
salary.
That's rounding up. That's $2.3 million a year by giving every employee 11 cents.
You know, it puts some
It's
things
still,
in
it's
perspective.
still was that
Okay.
phrase? You put lipstick on a pig, it's still a fucking pig. There you go.
I'm not putting lipstick on a pig. I'm putting a tutu on her.
No, listen.
Yeah, you said that last time too.
No, she's cute, but she's still a pig.
Okay,
It's
all right.
okay.
I'm actually triggered by these comments, but I'm triggered for a different reason. I just, and I know that's not our topic, but I just want to like tease maybe a story for later. But I remember just going HR and we talk about salaries and money.
Mhm.
I remember being in the operations, right? And they had a good bonus structure, which I was like, oh, we're getting bonus. This is great. But my bonus at the time I thought was amazing. It's like, oh, this is great. I'm getting an extra bit of money. This is helpful. And then I became HR and got to see all the bonuses. And when I saw that my direct boss or like a one level above me made in their bonus my entire salary plus incentives, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I did half the freaking work. And you got the bonus, and the bonus is my salary, like my entire salary plus your salary, which was great. So I'm triggered all over the place. I need a fidget spinner. That's why I
Yeah.
need something.
You need a cry room.
I need a cry room right now. Hold on. Let me drink this water.
I was gonna say, if y'all didn't know, he was drinking water to keep from crying.
I forget we're a podcast, and I'm like, you're doing visual facial cues and shit. Oh man.
Well, getting back to the true nature of the reason why we needed to bring a little bit of comedic relief into this, because this is a lot.
It's a heavy topic.
It is. And so getting those pieces out there were very important. But I do truly believe in connecting with others. We have all been, I'm pretty sure all of us know this and have been this, it's an HR of one. You were alone. It was just you. You're running training, you're running employee relations, you're running benefits, you're running, like, you are everything. And there's no time for any of the other things. So I definitely do think that it is a lot better since I have met you guys and been working with you guys. As you can see, why we built the podcast is we've all been through something either similar or had funny stories or had somebody sit next to us in the bathroom. We've all had fun stories. And so I feel like that is trauma bonding, but it's also stuff that we can identify with. So what I say all that to say this is having that relationship, there is a level of understanding. But there's also like where I liked what Jake from HR said earlier, which is reaching out to that person. Y'all know I reach out to y'all at least once a week. And, to either mess with y'all or to just complain. What was that there, Jake from HR? What was that?
Oh, I think you mistake. It was once a day.
That would be him. But in all of that, we know what we've been through, and I think that we also need to take this moment to think about, are other people, not even just in HR, dealing with similar things? Maybe not bonus issues and benefit issues and stuff like that we're dealing with, but at this moment, it could be a true therapeutic advantage to that employee by having us. And with that, I want Big Llama to read about the therapeutic HR advantage, if you wouldn't mind.
The therapeutic. Okay, hold on. Where? Okay, I see it here. Okay, so it says here, imagine a workplace where stress levels are proactively managed, leading to increased productivity and well-being. Employees feel truly seen, heard, and valued, fostering a higher engagement and loyalty.
Hold your thought.
Conf- What's that?
I said, hold your thought for a second.
Mm-hmm.
That one is the main one that employees thrive and want the most. Like they grip onto, they need to be seen, they need to be heard and valued. And I had a situation where somebody very close to me works their butt off. And somebody went and did some type of recognition to that person. And they'd only been working for a short amount of time and got this big old recognition for it. Whereas the person that was close to me was like, I busted my butt for years. And you can see I've been, compensated for it, but it's not always about compensation. It's about feeling valued. And I think that was the biggest struggle that I also had, which was feeling valued. Did any of y'all have any of those things going on where you're like, I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard or valued, or your employee hasn't been?
I
I
think we've
mean,
all been in that situation, but this may not work for everybody, but this is specific to me. I tend to look at things from a very optimistic side, right? And so when I face a challenge and I feel like I'm not being valued or I'm not being heard, I'm going to talk through that. I'm okay with expressing how I feel. I'm not you guys know this about me. I'm not someone that's going to just be loud and speak up and say I'm not going to do that. I observe. I look at my crowd. I see who's in the room, who's not, who I have that trust with to talk and say, hey, I didn't appreciate this, or I don't feel like my opinion was taken into consideration, right? On the flip side, though, another opportunity for me is that sometimes it's a little struggle with speaking up, and this is something that Jake has helped me with, like over the time that we've known each other, is how to speak up for myself and how to stand up for, when I feel like I'm being wronged. But I say that to say that if you are not someone who is very vocal about, I don't feel these things from my employer, it's okay to not have this like grandiose reaction. But it's also not okay to not react at all or to not say anything. So yes, I think we've all been there. We've all felt like we're not, again, to seen, heard, valued. But if you look at it from an optimistic side, for me, right, if my opinion wasn't taken into consideration, it probably was because that other person's opinion that was taken into consideration, or the other plan that we followed that somebody else came up with, was probably the better fit to be a solution to whatever problem we were facing. Right, but that's just me, right? And so if you're out there and that's the approach that you take at life, you're doing okay.
yeah, I'll just echo and just say, you do have to ask for the things that you want. Like that's one thing I've learned over these years, is that people aren't just going to give you what you think you should be getting, whether it's pay, whether it's positions, projects, potential for promotion. You got to be vocal, and again, not arrogant vocal, not an asshole, but you just have to be, open to say, hey, next time that comes around, I'd like to be considered. Or if we're talking about projects, I really am interested in doing this. Because otherwise, if you just nod your head and smile at everything, sometimes they just feel like everything is fine, right? So definitely, to echo exactly what you're saying, Mama Mel, is like you have to just be able to express yourself, um, whether it's good or bad. Just be able to, and obviously professionally, and with respect and with tact. There's times and places for things, so be mindful of those things too. But just wanted to echo on that. I didn't want to say piggyback because I hate that.
Well, Big Llama, do you mind reading the rest of that, and then we'll go
Yeah.
around the circle or the square?
Circle gets the square. Let's see. The next thing here under the therapeutic HR advantage, conflicts are addressed with empathy and understanding, leading to more positive resolutions. And then personal and professional growth are intertwined, creating a more fulfilling work experience.
Thank you for that. So, going around to end this piece of our wonderful podcast, at least I think it's wonderful.
I think so too.
Nobody else agrees, just me and Big Llama.
I know it is.
Okay, there it is. There's one more person. Jake from HR is like, I ain't saying nothing. So tell me in your most sincerest way, what advice would you give on, and it could be short advice, on how we can be better in HR and how can we bridge the gap for the needs of the employee? I didn't mean to say bridge the gap, by the way.
You did. Where do you want to start?
Oh,
Me?
we'll start with Mama Mel, because I know,
I'll leave you with 3 things that you can do and 3 things that you shouldn't be expected to do, specifically when it comes to HR or therapy. We can absolutely listen to the employee that's struggling and acknowledge what they're feeling, right? Empathy over sympathy all the time. I don't like when we say, like, I'm sorry you're going through that, because I didn't do anything to cause that. But I can absolutely empathize with you. We can offer them resources like EAP, mental health benefits, or refer them to local resources. We can certainly continue to foster an environment that has open communication. What we should not be expected to do is provide any type of clinical advice, any type of therapy. We shouldn't be the confidant, the one person that takes on the emotional toll of other employees' struggles or burdens. And we shouldn't manage other employees' personal crises beyond our scope or beyond our training, right? So finding the perfect balance there really lies in promoting well-being, right? Our culture of well-being, facilitating access to those benefits, equipping and empowering our managers to lead with that same understanding, to reinforce the message. And sure, like in a time where empathy is highly valued, we still have to be able to recognize our personal boundaries that protect both the employees, but us as HR professionals alike. So I leave you with that.
Excellent.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. And even me taking that advice, that's wonderful. Thank you. Jake from HR, what are your thoughts?
God, how do I follow that? It's like,
I know.
it's like going from little leagues playing like in the NFL.
So Mama Mel's the little league? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm the little league. She's the NFL. The advice I would give on how to close the gap between the employees when it comes to like that borderline of HR therapy is make sure if you work in HR, you're developing yourself on the psychological or the psychology side of the people industry, because nobody goes into HR with that. You either get it through years of experience and screw ups, let's just be real, or you get it through self-education or formal education. So go out there and get it, because if you have not given yourself those psychology courses on the people side of the industry in a work environment, that's going to help you with the tools that you need to implement when you're faced between that challenge of setting those boundaries and what to say and what to do and how to react between being in HR and being treated like a therapist, because it happens, and it happens often. And you got to know how to separate it or how to correlate it if it's tied into one another and it's affecting the workplace, on what role you play on addressing the problem that's affecting the job side of the business and not the personal side. So teach and educate yourself, or go back to school and get some formal education, because I tell people all the time, the number of times I have used my degree itself has still been at zero. I've never used my physical degree for any job I've ever had. I've always used the knowledge that I've gained through the courses that I've taken. That's what's benefited me, not the degree itself.
All right. Perfect. Thank you for that. All right, let's get to the next to last there, the big llama mama drama right there. Let's go ahead. Tell us what your thoughts are.
There is no drama with this llama. At least not tonight. So I a lot of things that I would say is, one, make sure obviously that you are in a good if whether you're an HR person or a manager, that you're in a good position to listen, that you have made the proper timing and given that person your undivided attention. I think I've said this before in a couple other sessions, but that's key to this whole thing. The other thing is, you need to do, as an HR professional, some self-assessment. I have done this a couple times and I realized that I was an asshole. I was a total asshole in my youth. And what is, over the years, my experience and the things that that I've learned is that I really never understood people's situations because I didn't experience it. And you don't have to experience that situation. So for example, when I was a young boy, um yeah, I've just triggered a lot of people. Um no, but when I was coming up, and I got a supervisor job really early, I was not sympathetic to the person who had kids, and I wasn't sympathetic to the college student. Only knew my situation, right? I only understood my situation. So when you come to me with a problem or with an issue, I can't understand or wrap my head around why it's an issue, right? Work is the most important thing. And, how dare you take a day off to be with your kids at a field trip? What is that? You're not part of the mission. So I honestly have had to do some self assessments and go, was I even present for that person? Have I been a good person in listening? And so I wasn't. And so that's how I learned, um, along the way, how to hopefully be a better HR professional, how to be a better listener. And then always after a session or after someone comes in your office, you can just sit back and go, well, how'd that go? Right? Just talk to yourself or talk to a friend and go, how the hell did that go? If you feel good about it and you feel that the situation was handled, that's great. You don't need to get affirmation or confirmation from them at that moment, but like you can feel it. You can feel when that conversation went really well or went sideways. And I think that's something that we are very proud, and we don't do very often. So as part of this, being a therapist, or a pseudo therapist, how did you do in that experience? And if you're not honest with yourself, then you're never going to get better. So, and if you're young, and I'm not saying this because I'm an old man, but I'm saying it goes both ways. If you are young, right, and you don't have the life experiences that other people have, it's okay. You can still be an effective HR person by having an open mind and listening, right? Now, if you're an experienced grizzled veteran like myself and you're in HR, stop clinging to the old ways. You have new people, new generations, and new ways of thinking. If
Mm.
you're not open to any of that, if you're not open to any of that, you need to just leave the profession, because that is the future. The future is, there is a whole new group of work, and we think we talked about it earlier. One generation thinks the next generation is weak, and the next generation thinks the other one is whatever. It's just a different way of thinking. So for me, I'm ancient in this business, but I've learned to adapt, right? And figure out How does the new, the new workforce think? What is the things that using words like triggered and understanding those things. I would have years ago. I would have not even thought of it. I wouldn't even think to even understand it. It's either my way or the highway. So if you're doing that, stop. That's something that's probably hindering you. And do an assessment. Think about how you've treated some people, and if you're honest with yourself, you'll get better. So that's my 2 cents tonight.
Well, thank you, Big Llama. I think my advice that I would give is it's kind of a twofold, but there's a time and a place for everything. So when I say this, there's a time and a place. Be an ally to your employees. Advocate for your employees. If you're not advocating for them, then you're not doing it right, because you're an employee too. So you're advocating for yourself as well. So when you see that nobody's gotten a raise in 3 years, it's probably time to start advocating. And then the other things I would say is, prioritize your health. Mental health is very, very important. Use the EAP program. That's what it's there for. There's, depending on what program you have, you can get 4 or 5 free sessions. So look that up. But then also, a lot of your healthcare is like Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, all these big names are now paying for those mental health care appointments. Don't skip out. Go do that. Take care of yourself, because if you don't, then physically you will be affected. And after that, I say, know your boundaries. Whether you're in HR or any other fields, know your boundaries of what you can give advice for and what you can't, and what you're willing to be liable for. So with all much love, I'll tell you, be the I in kind. I love that shirt. So.
Oh, I like that.
All right, that's all I got.
Like be the I, like
I thought you were talking be the I in kind.
I'm like, be the I in kind. I'm like,
there's no I.
no I in there. And then it clicked. I'm like, oh, the letter I. Ooh.
They want you to be second best because you ain't the K.
Oh no, I'm just a special K with the little yogurt in it.
There you go.
Great way to end tonight.
It is. Yeah. It is. Be the eyes in kind.
I was like, wait a minute.
I'm gonna forever remember this.
Took me a second, but I got it.
All right, Jake, take us home.
All right. So bringing us to an end, I say this with much love and respect until we call you into the office next time.
Adios.
Later,
guys.
Well, that's another episode of the 4 Friends Trying to Figure Out HR. We didn't solve anything, but hey, at least we tried.
And by tried, we mean we laughed, we overshared, and we probably violated some HR guidelines ourselves.
But remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take our advice. Seriously, don't.
And if your HR manager asks, you've never heard of us or this podcast.
Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and join us the next time as we keep trying to figure out HR and fail spectacularly.
Now, go be productive, or at least pretend to be.
And tell your boss that I said hi.
Tell your mom I said hello.
Tell your daddy I said hey.
And remember, hate has no home here.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again for a fresh round.